Hello there, and welcome to another session solving tactics on chesstempo.com with the Advocate. This set is 1400 to 1500, and I do believe that this will be my last session for 1400 to 1500 before I move up. So depending on the success rate of the problems that I solve here, how well I do calculating to the end, this will be my last for this set until I go up to 2000 or something, and then do a full repeat of the whole series. If this is not your target level, for example, you want something a little bit more difficult, you want something a little bit more easy, please take a look at my channel and you will probably find the material that you are looking for. Best way to use these videos, please pause the video every time a new problem comes up and then write your answer down. Write your answer down and also write down any major variations that you can think of. That's probably one of the better ways to keep yourself accountable for your solving. Let's go ahead and get started. Rook takes, white to move. Seem to be some back rank threats here. Rook takes here, and if queen takes, rook takes, rook check will be back rank. So let's say rook takes, queen moves away. Then what? Rook check. Queen takes, rook d8. And then my bishop on e3 covers my own back rank mate. So if rook check, I'll just play bishop c1. And if rook takes, queen takes, check is forced. There's always knight f8. But knight f8, bishop takes. The queen on e8. So it seems like in all variations I'm winning the queen. So rook takes, queen takes, queen takes. I win the queen. Black's best move in that position, maybe rook c8, doubling. But that doesn't seem like anything that I need to be worried about. After rook here, queen here, rook takes e8, queen takes e8 forced. This is the only square. We could also say queen f8, right? Rook takes, queen f8, rook takes, but then it's the same thing. And if queen f7, rook takes, knight f8, I'm gonna take the bishop, take the queen with the bishop. And in each case, I don't see any convincing counterplay from black. So let's go ahead and do it. All right. Common mistakes that are made in this position. Rook d8 is just a free rook, no? No. But here and here, So let's count material. Rook for rook, 2 minors, 2 minors. This is equality. This is the computer line, which is much better than what I played. So yeah. All right. How did I solve that problem? I just noticed the back rank. That's really it. After the back rank, and then I just was calculating queen wins after that, right? So noticing the back rank led me to the queen win. And then looking at other defensive tactics showed me the rook d8 move at the end of any defense. Check is mate. c4 check. King d4, only square. Queen e3, checkmate. Easy to see. But I'm just really good at seeing this. I think that, tactics are not exactly a strength of mine, but you give me a swallowtails mate, I will spot it in half a second. Mistakes that are made, queen takes b7. I didn't even see the bishop was hanging, to be honest. Yep, didn't see the bishop was hanging. I just immediately saw this. Queen takes b7. White is still winning, of course, with the king this much in the center. But there's still some work to be done. Black should probably play rook e8, stopping the queen from coming back. And the game sort of continues. 2 rooks are not actually enough with the queen this active and the king in the center. Okay. How did I solve that problem? Pattern recognition is how I solved that problem. But I think that one of the ways you could solve this problem is just to notice how forcing c4 check really is. Because the king has only one square. Only one square, and it leads to mate. Whereas if you take on b7, there are a lot of moves you need to consider. Okay, there's this check here, there's this check here, there's this check here. All roads lead to Rome. Check, king here, check, king here, checkmate. Ah, no, the knight covers this square. So is there some other way to bring home the bacon? I can win the queen, of course. Check. King here. I'd prefer the mate. I would prefer some checkmate. So check. King f7 is forced. Double check. King g7. Rook check, queen takes check, king takes h6. If I win for that variation, I might as well just take the queen on g8. Huh. So I'm just trying to get the mate without picking up the queen or letting the queen sacrifice herself. So for example, queen check, king f, knight check here, queen check, king f, let's say knight check here, king g, no, I don't see it. I think I have to go for the queen. So queen check, king f7, and then knight h6 check. Double check, winning the queen? No. So I saw queen c6 check, but I thought it was just the exact same. Is it different somehow? For example, queen d6 check, queen d6 check, king f7, knight check, king e8. No. Queen d6 check, king f7, knight check. No. Why am I not considering d5 check? Why did I not think of that? d5 check, king takes d5, queen check, king here, queen check, is mate, so he can't take. He'll go to f7, and then what? Then I take. That seems a bit lame, to be honest. What's the difference between d5 check and then all these queen checks? Knight g7 check, queen takes g7, queen check, king f7. No. What the hell? So it's not, so all of these I'm seeing are queen wins. So d5 check leads to a queen win, queen c6 check, queen d6 check leads to a queen win. I don't see the mates, and none of those are the move. So it has to be something really... Knight a6? Knight h6? Knight h6 would threaten rook check, knight takes, and then maybe queen f7 mate. So after knight h6, he would need to play queen g7. Then I can play queen check here. Wait, is this just like a get the queen out? Yes, clear the knight at any cost, and then just allow the rook and the queen to work together. For example, knight check, queen takes, queen check is mate. Yes. So knight check, queen takes, and then queen d6 checkmate. Okay, and here a couple of ways to mate. What's the best one? Queen check, king here. Queen check here is mate in one, right? Yeah. Complicated problem. It was difficult for me to see to just let this knight go. Knight h6, most common mistake, which is one of the moves that I calculated. But after queen g7, I couldn't see a follow-up. Although I suppose this is the follow-up. Maybe this, stopping the mate, giving up the queen. And the rook. Knight h6. Then what? No idea. I mean, clearly, there are a couple of defensive moves to be played. There's rook g1 check. There are others. But it's just not check, checkmate. How did I solve this problem? Well, first of all, it took me 9 minutes to solve this problem, which is way too long. Way too long. But I also continuously calculated out until queen wins, and just decided that after the queen win there would be a mate. Which is totally reasonable in my opinion, after I couldn't spot the mate. But the way that I came up with this solution was after finally realizing that I don't need the knight to mate. That's where this problem came together for me. When I realized that with the open file, I don't need the knight to deliver checkmate with my queen on d6, that's when this problem really came together for me. Black to move. There is some material hanging here. My bishop's hanging. If I take here, he takes here with check. I can play queen check, queen takes, knight takes, and cover my bishop. What is the material balance right now? Two rooks, two minors, two minors. So material is equal. So if I take here, he takes with check. I move away. Takes here. And I will have queen f2 check. So takes here, check, king h8. If knight takes, queen check, king h1, queen picks up with check, so he doesn't have time to deliver smothered mate or force the trade of exchanges. Trade of exchanges, what? Like, I win the exchange and then he wins the exchange is what I mean. Anything else? Knight takes, queen takes check, king h8. Any other second moves by white that I should look at? I'm currently up the exchange. I'm threatening queen takes e5. Queen takes e5. Queen takes e5. Knight f3 check is the threat. Oh, yeah. Check. King here. And now if rook takes here, queen check. Queen back, I pick up the rook. King h1, I pick up the rook with check. Actually, this would be really bad for black or bad for white. So queen g1 is actually forced in this position. Now I'm on the knight. Yeah. Ooh, didn't talk about the problem at all, did I? Sorry. All right. So black's just sacrificed here. I should be able to play knight check, bishop takes, bishop takes. Knight check, and bishop takes is forced. And after bishop takes, there's no way to stop mate. Huh? Does he want bishop here first? Threatening mate. I guess it's a mate in 3 versus a mate in 2. So if bishop here, bishop takes, knight takes his mate in 2 with style points because I'm forking the queen and the king. Now if knight check, bishop here, isn't that still a mate in 2? Knight check, bishop here, bishop here. No, I guess that's mate in 3, right? Whereas this is mate in, so first move, second move, third move. So this is mate in 3. It's easier to calculate though since the first move is a check. Okay, rook here should pick up a piece. Rook here. If knight's here, rook here, rook here. I can take, push. Huh. Rook here, rook here. So now I'm pinned. So, rook here, rook here. Bishop takes, rook check. What about supporting the rook? Rook here, rook here, rook c1. So now he needs to resolve the loss of the exchange. There are a couple ways to do that. There's knight d8. After knight d8, let's say takes. No, after knight d8, let's say takes here. No. I do feel like rook c6 is the answer, but I'm not seeing the correct continuation after rook d7. My natural inclination is just to queen. Rook d7, rook d, come here. Rook takes here, pawn here. Knight c, pawn here. Knight a8. Don't have anything there. So let's say here, rook c1, knight d8, knight takes, rook takes, rook takes, knight takes, and then a6 and the knight on c6 is stopping my pawn on a7. Rook here, bishop here, bishop takes, rook takes check, king f7, take e5. That's 2 pawns. It's not enough for a tactic. 2 very good pawns, but it's not enough. Knight c7, knight c8 right away. Knight c8, rook anywhere. So knight c8's not working. Knight c4 not working. So no knight moves work. The only thing I see is rook c6, but I just don't know how to get it to work. I see winning 2 pawns. I see a double pawn win with bishop takes, rook check, king f7, rook takes here. What if I play bishop takes at the end of that line? Let's say rook here, knight takes, rook takes, and what if now I play bishop takes here? If bishop takes, knight check will fork the king and the rook. If the bishop moves away, the bishop needs to stay on this diagonal. So let's say it goes to b8, b8, a6. Wait, no, b8 is not possible because my knight's here. And if the bishop goes to c7, now the knight can't go back to c7, and I can push a6. If that's the tactic, that's going to be super deep. So the point is rook here, knight takes, rook takes, bishop takes. Now, if bishop takes, knight check wins the exchange. Knight check wins the exchange. If bishop doesn't take, its only square is c7 to continue to protect the e5 square. But the c7 square is the square that the knight needs to go to in order to stop the pawn on a8. So now a6, a7, a8 is on. a6, the rook, if the rook takes, the knight cannot organize to get there, to cover the a7 square, the a8 square. So best move is maybe bishop to b7, now a7, knight c7, a8, queen, knight takes a8. That seems a bit much. People, I'm sorry, but this was a much more difficult tactic. People are not actually calculating this. I'm just looking at the comments to see if anybody... Yeah, this is... So in the comments, people are pointing out the exact line that I was looking at. So this is the line here. And if here... I think there are a couple of ways to bring home the bacon. This is one of them. Knight here, rook takes, bishop takes, and now if you want to hold on to the bishop, you need to go to this square. Or if you want to hold on to the exchange, you must go to c7. And now I'm promoting. Promotion is unstoppable. A line that someone else gives is this, playing the sacrifice first. Forking these two pieces. If you take, check, king here, the exchange up, and you're still promoting. This line is not entirely forced, so I think that either way brings home the bacon. Knight c8 is a mistake that is made in this position. Oh yeah, so I did consider this move. Knight c8 was one move that I spent a while looking at. But after most second moves by black, it feels like we're holding on. This pawn falls. So after knight c8, it just didn't feel right. So this is there a knight c8 line that the computer gives? No. But yeah, knight c8 is the 90% most common mistake that is made. Another mistake people make is rook takes d6. Rook takes d6, and now what? Maybe bishop? They're trying to play bishop takes? I'm not sure. I'm not sure why people play rook takes d6. I think that you have to notice the problem with this move is there's a pin here, so it's losing a piece. Pawn takes, rook takes a1. So I think rook takes d6 is probably one of those moves where people don't know what to do, so they just play the sacrifice thinking that's what the computer wants or thinking that's what's winning. White to move. If only I could get some more material into the attack. Quiet moves lead to mate, I think. Knight check, queen check, knight here, queen check, king up, queen check. If king back, rook is mate. So king would have to come here, but then I'm getting mated on e4 or e3. So what else could be played? Queen d6 would maintain my knight's defense over e1. If queen check, king h2. It would also stop, for example, the difference between queen b7 and queen d6 is that after queen b7, queen e6 defends, but after queen d6, if queen d6, I can take the queen. If bishop takes, rook takes check, and if rook takes d7 check. So queen d6 is more powerful than queen b7. Yeah, queen d6 seems to be it. After check, king h2, nothing going. And after any bishop move, I'll take the rook on e7. Rook e7, basically king any square leads to mates. h8, queen check, mates. g8, queen check, any square, mates. So if bishop moves, he's getting mated. If the rook moves, I'll take with check. If king here, queen f7 check. King here. And I'll again play for the mate. So yeah. Queen b1. None of these checks. Oh wait, he doesn't even have queen e3 check. Haha. Alright. So only check here in this position would be queen b1. Alright. Mistakes that are made in this position. Queen b7. Yes. So I talked about this while I was calculating. The difference between queen b7 and queen d6 is that after queen b7, queen e6 defends, but after queen d6, queen e6 does not defend because queen takes if bishop takes rook check, and if rook takes d7 check. That is the difference between queen b7 and queen d6. Another mistake that is made in this position, though not quite so often, is rook takes d7. But this does nothing. It just does absolutely nothing. There's literally no follow-up check that is even remotely useful. So you would only do this if you were defending. And you're already defending. This knight is already defending your position well. So there's no reason to sacrifice material in this position. How did I solve that? There's the x-ray on the rook here. If the bishop moves, I take the rook, so it's sort of a pin. So you need to increase the pressure on the pin. How do you do that? Queen b7 or queen d6. So now you need to choose between the two of them. You look for available defenses to queen b7. You realize queen e6 defends, and you choose the one that takes away queen e6. That's how I figured out that problem. Black to move. Queen check. King here. Queen check is mate. Queen check. King here. Bishop check. King h1. Bishop check. King h2. Queen check is mate. So he has two squares, this and this. He'll have this square, but this is mate in 2, and this is like mate in 3 or 4. So it goes queen check, king h2, bishop check, king h1, bishop check, king h2, queen g1, checkmate. And if checkmate. 31 wrong moves made in this position. What do people play? Bishop g1 check. Oh, okay. They play the revealed check, bishop g1. But then what do you do after bishop f3? Or queen f3? If takes, takes. This pawn will not promote. So Yeah, I don't like that move. Let's say you play this here, here, here. Yeah. Bishop g1 check is a mistake that's made. Bishop f4 check. King takes f4. Queen check. King here. Yeah. You just gotta calculate it out. Sorry. Next move. Next one. I'd like to sack my queen here. Okay, white is threatening checkmate, so no quiet moves. Unless that quiet move also somehow covers the mate. For example, knight g7 could be played here. Like after pawn check, pawn takes, knight g7. Rook takes, rook a8 would lead to mate. I think that actually might be it. I think that's it. So pawn takes check, pawn takes, knight g7, and now he needs to stop rook a8, king b1, rook a1 mate. So what does he play? Takes, if king b right away, if king b right away. I will play, let's say c2 check. Queen takes, and then I'll just be a piece up. Or should I play here, king b, and there's no way for me to get at him really. So yeah, I'll either play queen c2, so now pawn check, and if king c1, if king c1, I would play b3, but then I would get mated. So b3, so take here, and I've confirmed that after pawn takes knight g7, this checkmate is unstoppable. There's no blocking move. There's no pieces that can be thrown in the way. So, for example, check, pawn here, knight here. If queen b2, let's say rook check, king a1, king b, queen check, king c. Okay, I can just trade in that position, be a piece up. So yeah, it looks like pawn takes, knight here, queen b2 would defend. Alright, let's go ahead and play it. Pawn check, pawn takes, knight g7, queen b2, rook check, king b1, lots of options here. I can take, take, take. I could check, check here. If queen here, rook check, king takes, queen takes, rook takes. That might be a bit much. Bit too much. Because of my back rank issue, as well as these pieces that are under attack. So I shouldn't go for that. I should just take, and defend. Or take here, yeah. Alright. 41 wrong moves that are made in this position. The most common ones are knight g7 and a3. Knight g7 prepares to play this. But after knight g7, the knight can move away. Check, king here. So that doesn't work. So after knight g7, the king moves away. And this is the line that the computer gives. A3. A3 is another move. Okay. Yeah, A3 just fails to this. So I think I said it a couple sessions ago. When you make a quiet move, you should be certain that you're going to survive the next turn. It's the golden rule of quiet moves. Make certain that you're not getting yourself killed. And I think one of the first things that you should do when you play a tactic is decide if a quiet move is on or not, if a quiet move is a possibility. And here it's just not. Any quiet move has to stop the mate here. For example, knight g7. The fact that knight g7 doesn't come with check allows this tactic to work. Next problem. e7 is weak. Yeah, queen takes c8, and then check here will win the exchange. If queen takes here, bishop takes here, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, I'll take here and I'll be a rook up. Anything else to look at? No, I don't think so. So queen takes c8, queen takes c8, knight check, rook, king g7, rook takes, and then what am I doing? I'm gonna trading off the light square bishops. Doesn't seem that great, to be honest. But at the same time, I think it's good. Yeah, trade off the light squared bishops to make c4 weaker. So that's my plan after this. After any other move, let's say queen d5. After queen d5, I'm going to go to b7. I'm not going to take here. That's just equality. I would go to b7, rook b8, takes, queen b5, queen b7, rook b8. Wait. So takes, queen b5, I'll have this check, king g7, and then I'm going to go to c6, not b7. This way I clear the long diagonal to get my queen out. I don't want to play this tactic and then suddenly get my queen trapped after this. Although I suppose I do have this square. Mistakes that are made in this position, knight b6. Knight b6. Yes, working on the pin. This is defensible, though. We're defending. Maybe. Maybe not quite, because this bishop's going to come in. This seems just like a longer way to win the exchange. Unless there's something I mean, just move the queen now. Yeah, just move the queen. Well, no, you can't, because then... Huh. What about rook here? Now you don't have time for this because of this. So yeah, let's say here rook b8. If knight takes, bishop takes. If bishop here, if bishop here, rook here. If rook takes here, rook takes here, rook takes here, rook takes here, or just rook takes here, and you're at the exchange. it seems defensible. Alright. So not knight b6, although I think knight b6 definitely gets some play. I didn't really notice knight b6. I think the first thing I said when I saw this position was, oh, the e7 square looks weak. And seeing the e7 square allows you to see the knight fork, allows you to see queen takes c8. And that's how you solve this problem. Checkmate. Bishop f1 check. King h1. Bishop h3 checkmate. Almost over 2,000 again. After that horrible session a little while ago. My ego feeling so much better. 15 wrong moves made in this position. I think all of them are probably going to be just because people don't see the bishop on c5. Nope. Most common mistake is this. But what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? And the knight covers this square. Important. So rook g1 is the most common mistake, but you just have to realize the bishop covers the g1 square. So this is forced, and then this. So if this bishop were not here, this would not be mate because the king could run away to f2, and then you're almost losing a piece. Your rook is now tied down to the defense of this bishop. But because of the dark squared bishop, it becomes a mate. Let's do one more, and then call it a session. Okay, so how are you stopping promotion? g3, threatening g2 check, king h2, g1 double check from the queen and the rook. King must take on h3, then king, queen g2 will be mate. So g3, rook g1, rook h2 mate, g3, knight g4, g2 check, king h, double check, king here, queen check mate. g3, this knight comes in, g2 check, king h2, queen check, double check, queen g2 mate. Yeah. So check, double check, checkmate. How do you solve this position? It's a quiet move. So what do? You make certain you're not getting killed. There's no mate by white in this position. There's not even a check. So you make the quiet move and you look at the quiet move and see how it can be stopped. And it can't be. And white can't even return material here because this is checkmate. So like if this were any other game, over the board, or on Lichess, chess.com, chess24, whatever, you would want to play something like rook g1, returning material, in order to remove or stop the black attack. However, rook h1 is mate. So yeah, rook b1 checkmates, rook c1 checkmates, and anything else. Alright, that's going to be it for this session. Not going to go over wrong moves on this one since I've already talked about how to solve it. I hope you learned from this session, and you will hear me next time. Until then, good luck on your chess journey. Goodbye. Hey man.